So let's start with myself just to give a bit more information about who I am. So as I mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and Ecomcy is a full service agency when it comes to Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok. We've been in this space for over 8 years right now. We have worked with over 1,000 brands. We've got a team of close to 90 people right now. We have a portfolio over $500 million in revenue, and we spend over $100 million in advertising. So you can imagine all the things that we experience on a daily basis when it comes to these marketplaces. And we have, really cracked the code in terms of understanding what works, what doesn't work. And that's hopefully the goal of today, really give you as many insights as possible when it comes to really showcasing what is the blueprint when it comes to succeeding in this specific case on TikTok. I also welcome everybody to check my podcast called the E-commerce Lab, where I have, some of the brightest minds when it comes to this topic. So we drop like 2 to 3 episodes on a weekly basis. So a lot of content there. Feel free to, really check it out when it comes to, what's really happening, especially in 2026, that was moving very, very fast. So let's jump into the topic, guys. So it's essentially the revolution of when it comes to really e-commerce. The reason why TikTok is super, super important, especially if even coming from an Amazon point of view, that I know it's a lot of my audience, is shifting the game of how TikTok is affecting the behavior, because now we're seeing how people start their shopping journey beyond Amazon. Before, somebody would go straight to Amazon and they would type on a keyword. Now it could be down to they're scrolling on TikTok, they're looking at funny videos, they're following the influencer, they see a specific product that's solving a specific issue. And that's how now the idea is embedded about why they need a product and why they have to buy it, right? And that's what exactly we're going to maximize when it comes to leveraging Amazon presence, because now we want to make sure that we also start getting that exposure. Because if you don't, trust me, your competition is going to do it, and over time they're going to eat into your market share, which is something we want to avoid at all costs, right? Now when it comes to really Amazon side of things, like we need to understand that when somebody goes to Amazon, right, the person that goes to Amazon because they already know what they want to buy. And that's why Amazon is such a good marketplace when it comes to really scaling a brand, because if you started from zero and you're really struggling in the initial kind of months to get some revenue out of the ground, Amazon essentially is where you're going to have the highest kind of intention to purchase when it comes from a behavior point of view. People in there are really motivated to make a purchase and spend money, which is something that not necessarily you might experience in other marketplaces. Now, that's of course when it comes to getting your initial sales and getting the snowball effect in terms of revenue. But the issue with that is that we're seeing now a lot of people, because they're starting to spend a lot of time on what we consider social commerce, in this case TikTok, is that now they're getting influenced by what they see. They might be on TikTok, they see, as I say, somebody on a live stream or somebody showcasing on the daily kind of routine, or when they walk the door, or when they're cooking, and that is feeding ideas to people what they actually have to buy. And now that's why a lot of Amazon brands are having essentially a downfall, because now people, instead of having to go to Amazon to buy something in terms of, let's say, a pet product, and just put pet products and browse around, they might go first to TikTok, see what the top influencer when it comes to pets are you buying for the pets, and that's how they're making the decisions. And this is creating a new kind of ecosystem that is driving, a lot of volume when it comes to traffic. And it's actually this allowing for a lot of brands to be discovered in the first time. And for those brands that are getting started, that's why it's super, super powerful. Now, how is the strategy and how do we make the most out of this, especially when it comes to combining TikTok and Amazon? The reality is that none of them replace the other, and this is very important. I see the big mistake that people jump in this case from Amazon to TikTok, and they completely shut down the Amazon operations, or they remove a lot of advertising, and that's a huge mistake, because they are meant to actually complement each other, right? And the way this works is essentially everything you do on TikTok is about creating a demand, and in some cases actually allow you to acquire customers cheaper than Amazon. We're seeing on Amazon that the cost per click, especially when you're doing, those initial launch campaigns, are getting very expensive. And sometimes running that kind of same budget on TikTok can give you better return, because you can potentially get some viral pieces of content. Some influencers are very kind of, have a high relevancy and a very high reputation of that specific niche. And by them only mentioning your product, that's going to give you a head advantage compared to only being kind of a generic brand on Amazon, right? Now, how do we essentially build the foundation in terms of, let's say you're an Amazon brand and you jump into TikTok? The first thing is understanding the ecosystem. Especially brands that are coming from Amazon, they struggle a lot because what they don't understand is that on TikTok, it's all down to, at the end of the day, entertainment, right? You really want to master the contents of things. And this is something that on Amazon, we really never had to do. Because on Amazon, you only had to put your main image, a few pieces of a title, bullet points here and there, and then Amazon would just showcase your product and the consumer would buy it. But you didn't have to really spend a lot of time in front of the camera, creating a script and all of that. That's really what TikTok asks you in the first place. So the first thing is changing the mindset, right? You need to really go into content kind of a mode. And if it's not gonna be you, at least it's gonna be through influencers. And trust me, on TikTok, like there is millions of influencers, micro influencers that are willing to get started right now. They want to make a living out of that. Most of them don't even require you to pay them any money up front. They are willing to do it for commission or because of the product. And that's where you can find the hidden gem into creating the snowball effect. The second thing is also making sure the product is the right fit. A big issue I see when they're coming from Amazon to TikTok, a lot of people assume that TikTok is actually suitable for everybody, and the reality that's not the case. Products when it comes to a TikTok, they have to be visually appealing, right? And what I mean by that is if you're selling, let's say, only a cup, right? It's going to be very, very difficult for you to make the product engaging on TikTok because it's just a cup or it's only a chair or it's a boring product. It has to be something that on camera, it really creates a specific sound. It has a specific shape. It has a specific kind of interaction and makes people stop scrolling. And that really what allow people to then go the extra mile and explore what the product is in the first place. And of a lot of products sometimes on TikTok, unfortunately, tend to fail because they're boring. So you need to make sure they're suitable for TikTok. The second thing is on the TikTok side of things, of course, is setting up the store when it comes to everything. So a lot of times, the mistake I see people do when it comes to TikTok is really in the integration of everything, right? Is connecting the official TikTok shop. They don't really know how to expand the ecosystem and how to optimize the backend of the shop. So make sure you have somebody that really know how to set up this, because a lot of times, whatever you do during the setup phase, especially when you connect your creative accounts and when you also optimize your official TikTok shop account, if certain things are not done correctly, that can also essentially give you a slow start when it comes to creating the virality effect. Now, the fourth step is, of course, all about content. And here is what I briefly just mentioned in terms of the mindset that you have to have. The good thing is that, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to be the person behind the camera here. There's so many influencers out there that will do this for you. In fact, the goal of working with a partner, or even if you're not willing to work with a partner yourself, you can do it yourself through software solutions. There's many software out there. You can just find influencers and essentially pay them on a commission. This is also changing the game in terms of how social media used to work. In the past, if you recall, if you want to do Facebook, Instagram ads, you had to pay $200 in advance, $500, some people thousands of dollars for only one story, one image. That's something of the past. The economics have completely changed, and now influencer will put more essentially thought and really focus on their content, because they know that if they don't sell the piece of content they have created, essentially won't give them any kind of contribution. And and again, when it comes to strategies within influencer marketing, to be honest with you, more than the actual strategy behind the script and everything, the most important thing is really finding the right influencers. And that's where I really would give you an extra tip here, is that make sure that you actually tailor them as much as you can. Again, within TikTok itself, or if you're using software solutions, there's many ways to filter people based on interest, based on their KPIs. You need to have a robust system. If not, you're gonna essentially end up sending hundreds and hundreds of samples and really creating that personalized content. That's really what's gonna move the needle for you. Then step number 5 is a kind of formats. A lot of people, they only get stuck on shoppable videos. That's relative. But what really moves the needle on TikTok is live stream. So live stream, the thing is, a lot of people, again, I understand they don't want to put the camera on, they might not want to engage in real time. The good thing is that there are many services out there that they can do it for you, many studios. And this is where really you can move the needle. For most of our brands, like 30 to 4% of the revenue comes from live streams. So that's why you need to make sure it's part of your strategy. If you only rely on shoppable, again, it's going to bring revenue, but really it's not going to give you the full exposure of TikTok compared to actually having live streams. And the final thing is, really maximizing trends on TikTok. There's trends pretty much every single week, a specific dance, specific kind of thing that they might do because of some artist sales or the news or some events worldwide. So you need to be on top of that, because that's usually how the algorithm works. It comes down to trends, and if you can relate some way or another that to your product, it can really fast forward the growth you can have on the platform. Now, the other thing that you really want to make sure is stop the scrolling, right? And this is something I always mention, that is the formula that we use is like those three first seconds. And I'm sure you heard this before, at the key. In fact, we actually moved from 3 seconds to 1 second. We have made as part of our criteria when making videos for our clients, that within 1 second, I need to be able to be impressed. It could be a sound, it could be something crazy on the screen, it could be something that scared me, but it really needs it to make me stop, because if it doesn't, then you are not even gonna give you the opportunity for you to sell me through storytelling, right? Like, what is the problem? What is the thing that you actually bring into my life? Why you're different than others? And more importantly, why do I need to buy you, right? Now, when it comes to bringing TikTok to Amazon, this is where most people actually then miss the mark, because then so far we have talked about the foundation, why TikTok is important, how to set it up. But then what people does wrong is that they don't understand how this then is going to create a snowball effect on Amazon. And that's really where you're going to get the best of this full strategy, because the reality is that success on TikTok rarely only comes out of TikTok itself. It comes from the virality effect that this is going to give you on Amazon, on your website, and in other marketplaces. So essentially, when it comes to TikTok, right, something that we love to see is that once we start doing content and creating enough engagement, essentially this will maximize the brand searches we get on Amazon. We have a lot of case studies of brands that have very low search volumes on their brand, and after we start doing content, the brand search significantly increase across the board, only because we are doing constantly content with certain influencers, right? And this was also down to a call to action. Like, something that works very well is that we make sure all our influencers say, go to Amazon, look for a X brand and find this product, and make sure you use my coupon Vinny20 and get this discount that's only going to last 30 days. That behavior, Amazon loves that. When somebody goes intentionally to Amazon, types a word, find the product, buy, that significantly skyrocket your organic ranking. And that's really what is maximizing the growth. Not only again that you're going to get on Amazon, but the snowball effect is going to have across the board. And then, of course, once you start getting that kind of effect of TikTok traffic going to Amazon itself, the other thing that you need to make sure is that you have a baseline structure that's going to essentially be the foundation behind the growth of the business. Because a lot of times the reason why also people struggle when it comes to TikTok is inventory, right? Especially if you're coming from Amazon, you are essentially used to having all your inventory under the same roof. Now you have orders coming from TikTok, right? And then you need to find a way to efficiently have the done through a 3PL or through your Amazon inventory, or it's any specific software that allow you to integrate all of these. But you need to figure that out from day one, because if you start missing the mark on the speed at which you send all the samples, and more importantly the orders that you sell to your consumer on TikTok, if you start making sales, that's really going to penalize your growth significantly. And the other thing is pricing. You need to make sure TikTok doesn't potentially end up killing the awareness of your brand. A big mistake I see is I see essentially um, people having a price, right, that is very low on TikTok, right? And then they go on Amazon, they have a higher price because Amazon tends to be more premium. And then what is going to end up happening, people is going to perceive you, this is the brand that consistently essentially cheap out on TikTok because they want to only drive traffic and awareness, and then people would never end up buying your original pricing. So you don't want to be one of those brands. Be consistent with the pricing. Of course, have promotion from time to time, but keep consistency across the board. And the final way is measuring really success, right? This is kind of internally the diagram that we try to really married to is, everything that we do in terms of TikTok. We want to see, views, engagement, shares, saves. Then we have traffic signals, which is, okay, how many brand search this is driving to Amazon, how volume is increasing on Amazon, but more importantly, what is it CTR? And then finally, how this converts into TikTok GMV and Amazon Helios seller lift, right? Because once you start combining all of this, right, then you start really understanding what is the real CPA that you have per creator and what's the real velocity. And that's really your end goal, because by then, if you manage to map out every single time I spend $5,000 on TikTok, this reflects, for example, $20,000 on Amazon sales, essentially you have 4x when it comes to TikTok on creators, right? And this is something then a good way for you to forecast how much money you can put on TikTok, how more aggressive you can be, and then from there, the sky's the limit. You at least have numbers that you can use for your projections and your growth. But most people never do this kind of diagram you see on the screen, and that's why TikTok then becomes like a black hole, right? You throw money and money and money, you don't really know what is happening. And it's because people don't really know how to measure how your TikTok activities essentially is a snowball into other things beyond TikTok, such as in this case Amazon, right? Now, to start bringing this into full closure, I think you really need to understand that this is a flywheel. The reason why we're doing TikTok at the end of the day is because we want to be discovered, right? We want to create this kind of a content as well that is evergreen content. People can find us, can learn more about us. And this at the end of the day is going to give us data. This data is going to allow us to understand who's our consumer, where we have to show, where we have to spend our data. But more importantly, these views potentially are going to be driven into sales. And you see how this is a snowball effect that goes over and over again. By really understanding essentially how this is interconnected. Because if not, what most people do is they do TikTok for 2-3 months, they do a few videos here and there, but they don't understand that it's beyond that, as you already have seen throughout the presentation. You really need to have a robust system. And again, this is only a fraction of everything that you have to do. You're going to be learning so much more throughout the whole, webinar today, but the goal is really embracing the change. Like TikTok is here to stay, and I think you really need to understand how this starts becoming your discovery tool to then drive that traffic potentially to marketplace such as Amazon, where you're gonna have the conversion and together generate the growth that you need. So that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much. Of course, everything that we discussed today, we do it in-house. We, as I say, we can help you on all this execution on Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok. So if you have any questions, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen. We're more than happy to have a call with myself or the team and explore how we can add value to yourself. So if you have any questions, as already mentioned, we're going to have a Q&A session towards the end. So I can see some questions already popping in, which is great. And then, of course, we can go in depth when it comes to that. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Cool. So now we jump into essentially the next speaker of the day. So, Tommy.
All right.
Yeah. Welcome.
That was a great presentation, Vincenzo.
Thank you.
Did a good job just sort of showing how broad their like TikTok shop really is. There's so much to it, and a lot of sellers they think that it's like going to be super simple. You just post a couple of videos, and then you're good to go. Can you see my screen right now? Is everything looking good? Okay, perfect. So this is the same title that I use every single webinar that I'm on, because this is something I'm super passionate about: turning dreams into reality on TikTok Shop. Now, before I really get into it, you might be wondering, who am I? I've been working in TikTok since before TikTok Shop even started. As you can see, I'm in a school bus right now. When I moved into this school bus many years ago, I wanted something that I could do from the road. So I began making product videos for brands. I generated over 100 million views for product brands and over $1 million in GMV. I have partnerships with top agencies and technology partners, and I am obsessed with helping people. I don't just care about turning dreams into reality on TikTok Shop. That is my personal mission in life, just in general, both for myself to make my dreams come true, but also to help other people realize that they can be living their dream life. And so I want to help people do that. Now you might be wondering, what does that actually look like on TikTok Shop? And that's exactly what we're going to be getting into. I'm going to keep this uh, pretty concise. And so there's a couple different ways, and for depending on who where people are at, right? And it's hard to find a sort of one size fits all solution. I don't think that there really is one. For affiliates, the turning dreams into reality on TikTok Shop is all about having freedom of time and financial freedom, right? Being able to post videos from wherever and get these samples and make a bunch of money. And then not have a boss, right? Like that's what they're kind of in it for, is they're like, I want to, just post content, get paid, and not worry about anything. And so these are kind of the big things that affiliates are always looking out for. And in my position, I want to help everyone, right? And that's kind of my job here. Now, for brands, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more complicated. To make dreams a reality on TikTok Shop for brands, we want a profitable strategy, a strategy that's going to drive GMV on TikTok and on other platforms, and a fulfilled mission. One of the things, if you haven't been able to tell already, I am super mission driven. When a product like is really about solving a serious problem for people, or if there's a founder who's like really, really into their product and the solution that it is, those are typically the brands that I want to work with, and those are the brands that are the easiest ones to find affiliates for, because they're mission driven, and affiliates want to be part of that mission as well. So the core idea of everything that I do is to give sellers and affiliates the knowledge, resources, and connections that they need to succeed on the platform. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've realized that it's not as simple as just running a campaign, creating some videos, running your ads, and hoping for the best. There really is a lot to TikTok Shop, as Vincenzo went over. So what those mechanisms look like, and I've spent a lot of time putting these together, is essentially a couple different things. So we have a school community where sellers can learn about how to make TikTok Shop work. Discord, consulting, and so we have a network of consultants. So for example, I'm not an expert in TikTok Live, but Jason, one of my consultants, is, and so you can book time with him, and you can find the solutions that you need depending on where you're at in your journey. And then, of course, we have sort of the growth partner model, and that's where I, partner up with a brand, help to execute on their mission. So I'm just going to go briefly over each of these different solutions, why I designed them the way that I did, and how they might be able to benefit you. So school, here's the QR code for the school group if you want to check it out. Basically, it's focused on how to leverage agentic AI within TikTok Shop. So for example, I created a program and I totally vibe coded it, right? And you can do the exact same thing. But basically, it creates content from start to finish. So it'll actually analyze your brand, all of your brand's, previous 90 days of content. Based off of that, it'll come up with ideas. It'll then write the scripts, and then it can produce the content using AI, using a platform called Arcads, which is a AI video generator specifically for product brands. So you get set up with that. Boom, you're now creating AI content. And then it schedules that to post, and it can actually schedule shoppable content. So this is, a simple system that you can install literally just by dropping a file into Claude Code. And you got to sit there and click on it for like 2 hours, but it builds this system out for you. You can then plug that into, all of your TikTok Shop, and you'll actually be posting shoppable content. The great thing about that is the feedback loop is much shorter. Now, I'm not super big on AI content, to be honest. Like, I think that an affiliate led strategy is actually long term going to be a better growth play. However, one of the challenges with affiliate content is that you've got really like a 4-week time period between when you first send out that target collaboration invite to when you're getting your content back, right? And so if you're unfamiliar with how that works, Bryan, who you'll hear from later, has a platform called Cruva, which you can use to automate your target collaboration invitations. And so you send out these invitations, and then it takes a little while for affiliates to respond. They start to request some samples. You go through, you approve your samples, then that gets shipped out, and then they have a couple weeks to make their content. And so when it's all said and done, you're looking at several weeks before your content is created. Um, and so that means your feedback cycle is 3 or 4 weeks. With AI content, we can test angles, hooks, scripts, all types of different things, and it's at a fraction of the cost. We're spending less than $10 a video, whereas for affiliates, you've got to send the sample, and then if you want more content, you're looking at paying out for retainers, that kind of thing. Super powerful system, great way to get started and just scale impressions. And then, of course, too, this is kind of the direction that everything is headed in, right? Where there's more and more tools coming out. You can automate your ads and, which videos you're putting your creative boosts on. You can automate customer service. You can automate, product listing optimization. There's so much that can be automated. And this is a great way to start, especially if you want to get the edge, especially if you're a smaller brand. You're not like some venture capital backed brand who's got $1 million to spend on affiliates. I would highly, highly recommend that you check out the school group. Next is the Discord community. So I've been building this Discord for, I guess, 3.5 years now. And recently it's really been picking up. We've had 2 or 3 people joining a day. We're now at over 500 members, and these are top affiliates. And I'm really big on freely giving as well. And so it's completely free to join for affiliates and for brands. So if you have no idea where to start, and when it comes to finding affiliates, this is a great place to start there. You can literally just join the Discord, post in there, post an opportunity, say, hey, look, I'm a founder, started this brand, looking for affiliates who are in this niche, and you will get people in there that are actually super enthusiastic. And then, of course, too, we could talk about putting together a group call so that, we can actually mass text everyone and get people on a group call so that you can present directly to the affiliates that are in this community. And then, of course, too, I've set it up to make this just a place that's super beneficial for affiliates so that they have access to other communities or to other tools that TikTok provides to them that they might not even know about. And then the next thing is the growth partner model. And so that's essentially, and I've become super, super picky about who I partner with because of how intense TikTok Shop is. And I want you to succeed. I'm not going to charge you a bunch of money to run your store if I don't think I can do a good job. And so this QR code goes right to my booking page. If you're interested in having that conversation with me, then I'd be happy to do that. That is super, super short as to all of that. There is so much that goes into TikTok Shop. I would very, very highly recommend that if you have not, if you haven't gotten into it yet, do not underestimate how, not necessarily how difficult, but how involved it is. And I wouldn't fully, rely on an agency or anything like that to do everything for you. Because the top brands on TikTok are either usually they're founder led, or they have a very serious in-house team. And so there's a lot that we can do to help you out, but just know that it's going to be a challenge, and you have to be willing to suffer for it a little bit. You got to be passionate about it. But yeah, that's kind of all I got. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Tommy. That was great. No, I think it was such a good introduction. I love how a lot of your concepts is driven down to communities and how to really stay close to your affiliates and everything, because I think that's really the key when it comes to TikTok, right? I feel a lot of people think can be automated with a software or with an agency, but no, you need to be on top of it. And it's good that you made a point out of that.
And I think too, it's like the community aspect very, very important, and like the automations are all important as well. And like there's so much, like if you don't want to spend 18 hours a day responding to customer messages and affiliate messages, sending out all of that, you have to have the automations, right? But that doesn't take away the need to have real community and real interactions. So that's what I just want to give people.
Love it. Thank you, Tommy. So if any questions for Tommy, of course, feel free, guys, to drop them down below, and then we can cover them towards the end of the webinar. Yeah. So thank you, Tommy. That was great. Next, we have James. Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
You got the camera working?
Oh, my friend, I was trying to have a different camera because this camera on my Mac is fading away. So I tried to put my phone on, but it didn't
Don't
work.
worry. Don't worry. It's totally
But I'll
fine.
share my screen.
So,
Tommy, really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
floor is yours, James. You can take over.
I'm just gonna share my screen now. Can we see it?
We can. Awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And it seems like we've got a very eclectic group of people and eclectic backgrounds. I love the tour bus that you have, the school bus. Very cool.
That's so
Want to
cool.
get one of them for me in Brazil. But very quickly on me. So I've actually worked within the creator economy now for 11 years. So I dropped straight out of school and I went to Los Angeles and I worked very closely with Logan Paul and Jake Paul. And I used to have a technology startup, which was like the UK version of Patreon called Watch.io. And we were top 3 trending in the UK. And the reason I came to Brazil, it was in 2019, was to launch that. And I think that part of the presentation here today is going to be talking a little bit about how things repeat themselves and history have a tendency to rhyme. And I think what's happening with TikTok Shop really did happen within the creator economy, within the YouTube days. And I think that a lot of brands, whether you're selling on Amazon, Shopee, Mercado Livre, or wherever you're selling, can really learn from the history and what's happened previously. So currently working in 4 markets: Brazil, Sao Paulo, where I'm currently at, work in Mexico, the US, and I'm from the UK. And my focus is not big brands, it's small and medium brands, because I think there's a lot of information out there about how big brands have scaled on TikTok or scaled on social commerce, but how do you actually do that if you're just a normal Amazon brand store owner, and how does that work? So right now, Synco Live, which I'm a founder, we have 100 trained hosts. We have over 250 in training, working in 4 countries. And then on average, we do between 200 and 250 hours a day of live streaming. And we do like very like low end production, mid range production. We don't do mega lives, and I'll kind of go into it now. So what I'm trying to achieve from this 10-15 minute talk today is a bit of a mind shift change for e-commerce brands who are thinking about shifting into social commerce. I'm going to look at this from live commerce perspective. I think the guys have talked about how this is an ecosystem on TikTok Shop. You can't just do one thing and expect results, but I'm specifically going to come at it from the angles of brand-owned lives. So why the future of live commerce isn't about bigger production, more influencers, and it's about doubling down on your own channel, owning your audience, and owning your long-term sales channel. E-commerce brands and the people along the live today, I imagine kind of you've mastered the skills of, logistics, conversion, and rate optimization. I think the next wave of social commerce is all about owning the attention and owning kind of what makes you win. And the perfect quote: history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And I really believe that within the creator economy. To give you some perspective, because I imagine a lot of people here today are tuning in from North America or Europe, but right now in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, there is an agency that does over 300,000 hours of lives per year, and L'Oreal in the market do 12,000 hours a week, meaning they can tune into different cities, different demographics, and find a host and find like a vibe that works for different parts of their clients. Building your channel. Building a brand-owned live stream channel really is like building your own YouTube channel back in the earlier days. There's so much crossover and how to grow an audience and create consistency and compound results over time. We've seen this all before. In 2010 to 2015, many brands ignored YouTube and just only relied on influencers, where they didn't build their own channel. They just paid the influencers to drive traffic and to build their audience, but not their brands. The brands that won built their own channel, and they are made to last. They build their own content machine. This is dedicated subscribers that opt into you directly and they tune in every day or every time you launch a video. This is repeat customers, repeat viewers, and ultimately you're owning your own distribution. I think a really good example of this on YouTube is JD within the UK. JD Sports, they have a great YouTube channel and how they partner with influencers, but people going back to see JD do this. So renting versus owning the attention. If you're renting off influencers or affiliates, the problem is they can switch very quickly. They're very fickle. If they get a higher commission from somewhere else, they could literally be promoting your competitor the next week. We've tracked hundreds of thousands of live stream hours, and we've seen how many brands have like risen very quickly with their affiliates and then crashed because their affiliates have found a better product at a cheaper price, and it really damages the brand. So it switches their competitors, it promotes whoever pays more, and it takes your customers away from you. So building it, and it's not building your business, you're building the influencer's business. Owning your own channel is all about retaining the data, retaining the longevity of your brand, and creating participation and building your own sales engine. I believe this is more sustainable. I'm not going to give any examples here because I definitely do not want to throw shade, but there are many mega lives that are going on in the moment. And I've seen it in Brazil, I've seen it in the US, I've seen it in the UK, and there's just simply not possible for small and medium brands to even think about doing a mega live, because usually they have 10 to 20 teams in production. They're bringing in an influencer, and it's a big setup to try to sell within a short period, right? And this is just not bringing people the GMV that they want. And what we've seen as well, and I've seen it across all markets, there are many studios now that are kind of the old-fashioned production hat, talking about the high quality, high end, you've got to have the right camera, the right lights, the right production team behind it. But the smaller and medium brands simply can't pay for this. It's just impossible. So what we like to do, we don't want people to fall into that trap, is we want people to actually think about how do you scale live and be going 24 hours live a day. So all you need for this is one to two strong hosts, a moderator, a simple, reliable setup, and high frequency. We believe consistency is the key, not big mega. And I think the whole point of YouTube, to bring that comparison in, is YouTube democratized the ability to give everyone a voice, right? And TikTok is basically democratizing the ability to allow anyone to sell. And I think smaller brands need to remember this. Content is so important, but YouTube people didn't blow up like Logan and Jake because they had high-end production. They blew up because they were authentic and they showed their real life and they gamed the algorithm. Consistency beats spectacles. Would you rather do one big live every 2 weeks or generate a consistent revenue every single day? We work with dozens of brands in North America, South America, and Europe that we're focused on how do we get them to sell 24 hours around the clock. 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. How do we catch the morning rush hour to work, the rush hour back home? When do people buy? Just before bed. We want to be going live 24/7, and we believe consistency is the key. So many of our brands now are selling 1,000 to 3,000 US an hour, or 1,000 to 3,000 reais in Brazil, for example, the equivalent currency. This feeds the algorithm, making it more consistent. It builds repeat customers, and it lowers the customer acquisition cost. The big spike is high cost and low frequency, relies heavily on ad spend, hard to sustain momentum, and the audience forgets in between each live. How to build this machine. So I put together 6 points to quickly highlight and what I would recommend. Go live consistently, build your audience, increase watch time, get platform traffic, drive more sales, and then repeat, turning it into a flywheel consistent engine. Your channel is your sales engine. Over time, people don't just come for the product, they come for your channel. They recognize your hosts, they trust your style, and they anticipate your offers. That is when it becomes an asset. So if you think about it, if you've got an Amazon brand or you've got a smaller brand and you're looking to transition over to TikTok, you want to make sure that you're building something that you can ultimately, that can be acquired, that ultimately can be grown. You don't want short-term wins. You want to be having a nice positive correlation over many months and many years. And this is the great way to do this. And the final slide here is, are you going to rent the attention or are you going to build something of your own? The future of e-commerce isn't just about buying clicks. It's about building your own distribution engine. So appreciate everyone. It was just a quick mindset shift for upcoming and small and medium brands. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, James. That was great. I love it how you really describe how the live stream is really rocket science. And sometimes people get so afraid about how complex it's going to be to build a system and everything. But, solutions like yours really make it like kind of a plug and play, and I think it's important people also understand that that's the future. I agree with you. I think social commerce is in that direction, and if you don't have some kind of system that allows you to grow beyond influencers, you're just renting your success. So that's good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So any questions to James, guys, feel free to drop them down below, and then of course we can cover them towards the end. Okay, awesome. So now for the next one, we have let me just make sure here. James, no, actually Ernesto, sorry.
Hi, Vincenzo. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. How you doing?
Good. Thank you. Ready. Thank you for this opportunity. We'd love to share, how has our TikTok journey been in the past 2 years?
Love it. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Great. So this talk is going to be about breaking the cold start on TikTok Shop. Let me go ahead and share my screen here with you guys. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Good. Okay, awesome. All right, good. So breaking the cold start, how brands launch and scale on TikTok Shop. And I'll tell you a little bit about our company and me. So my name is Ernesto. I started my own bedding brand on Amazon back in 2015. Those were the wild days. Actually, TikTok Shop today reminds me a lot of Amazon in 2015. Bullseye Sellers is an agency. I'm a partner at Bullseye Sellers. We founded in 2018, started as an Amazon agency. Today, we manage 150 brands. Half of those are on TikTok Shop. So in just 2 years, in just the last 2 years, half of our clients are already TikTok Shop brands. That tells you how fast TikTok Shop is growing. So we started TikTok Shop in 2024. We are a TSP, TikTok Shop certified partner, and we launched and gotten through the cold start over 100 TikTok Shop brands. And this is what I'm going to be talking about. So what is TikTok Shop? It's content and checkout, right? People now more and more, but historically, most of the people on TikTok Shop, they're not there to shop. They're there to consume content, educational content, news, politics, funny videos, sports, whatever, right? And then they get interrupted by a shoppable video, and next thing, they're buying a product. So it's discovery and purchase. The TikTok Shop is built for impulse. So, you guys were hearing about what kind of products do good on TikTok. There has to be an impulse buy. You have to have the right video, the right product, the right hook, the right attraction. Nothing boring, because otherwise it will not convert on TikTok Shop. And if you get enough content, enough distribution, enough conversion, the algorithm will just push you up smoothly. Here are some stats that are impossible to ignore. So on TikTok Shop, it's projected, it says 2025, but it's in 2026, $15 billion. And the year-over-year growth is 68%. So at this rate, TikTok Shop will catch up to Amazon pretty quick. Within the next 5 years, it will be as big as Amazon. 45% of TikTok Shop users buy on the platform. Okay, almost half of them. And the average time consumed on TikTok is 90 minutes daily. It's higher than maybe TikTok. I mean, maybe YouTube might be higher, but 90 minutes, an hour and a half every day, people are on TikTok. All right, now this is some pretty impressive stats. 61% of people who watch your product videos on TikTok go over to Amazon and buy on Amazon. Over half. That's why it's extremely important. If you're going to be on TikTok, you have to have Amazon presence, because otherwise you will miss out on all the spillover effect or halo effect. When brands come to us and they want to launch on TikTok because they want to make $1 million on TikTok, if they're not on Amazon, we do not accept them. Either we ask them to get on Amazon first, or we can help them get on Amazon before getting on TikTok. That way, there's going to be a lot of wasted attention. It's incredible the amount of people that see your videos on TikTok and then they go look for you on Amazon. And guess what's going to happen if you're not on Amazon? They're going to buy your competitor's product. So you want to make sure you're on Amazon first. And then 25% buy on TikTok Shop. Only 25%, despite TikTok Shop selling over $15 billion this year. It's only 25% open buying in the platform. And this is improving. As TikTok gains trust and credibility, more and more people will buy within the platform. It wouldn't surprise me if next year, half of the people buy within the platform. So you want to make sure you're on TikTok if you're not on TikTok. So 10% go search for you on Google or go to your website directly. And then 2.5% go in store and buy your product after watching you on TikTok. And I'm going to go over some very important data here where if you want to be on Walmart, Target, or these physical stores, you want to make sure you're on TikTok because that's how you get invited to these retails. All right. So the bigger play, here we go. TikTok equals retail. Buyers watch TikTok. So Walmart buyers, Sears buyers, Target buyers, they watch TikTok and they see what's trending on TikTok before they either accept you if you're reaching out to them, or sometimes they even reach out to you. I remember we did a webinar a couple of years ago about this brand, Lumina. They were going very, very heavy on TikTok. They were selling a few $100,000 on social media, TikTok and other social media channels. And the intention wasn't really to make money on TikTok or even Amazon. Their intention was to get the attention from Walmart, Whole Foods, Target, all these retails, and they achieved it. Thanks to that, they got invited to all these retails, and now they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars. So velocity equals validation, and retail follows momentum. All right. So the cold start is a catch-22. When you open your TikTok shop, you get no traffic and you have no affiliates. So you need to work with affiliates, but you cannot reach out to affiliates, at least enough affiliates to move the needle if you're not getting sales first. So how do you get sales without being able to reach out to affiliates? And affiliates don't want to work with you because there's no trust. Affiliates do not want to work with new brands with no reviews, with no sales velocity, with no proven fact that people are buying the product. So it's a catch-22. No sales, you get no access to creators. No access, well, you get no sales. So what do we do here? We manufacture momentum. And this is what we do. So we work with our sister company called Synco, and they have a pool of tens of thousands of buyers. And they actually come to us, they create an affiliate video, and then we get hundreds of people to buy the product. We run giveaways, we give them a full refund for the product. So they're real people, real purchases, and they leave real reviews, but they're getting reimbursed. It's kind of like Amazon back in 2013, 2014, the full price funnel. So we're doing this with TikTok Shop, and this helps generate the momentum. Now that we got momentum and we show a few $1,000s in sales, now we can reach out to enough affiliates. As a matter of fact, the affiliates start coming to you once they see sales velocity and reviews. And then now you can work with affiliates, send product samples, get more sales, more videos, and then it just becomes a snowball effect. Now, at the beginning, you cannot get picky with affiliates. The affiliates that you want, the good affiliates, they're affiliates making at least $50,000 to $100,000 in sales themselves, but they don't want to work with new brands or lower brands. So what do? You cannot get picky. You got to go for quantity. We filter the affiliate outreach to 80% plus post rate and $500 in the last 30 days. If you try to work with affiliates that are doing $5,000 in the last 38 or higher, good luck with that. We tried it. We have tried everything in the book. We made many mistakes, especially throughout the first 6 months. We made many, many mistakes. We tried everything, and finally we found a winning strategy, and this is it. Work with low-tier affiliates, 80% post rate, go aggressive on the sample seeding, 1,000 to 1,500 units in the first 6 months. And then once you get conversions on these sales, then you got to go heavy on 1 to 2 ROI. Okay, so you got to go heavy on the ad spend. I was on a sales call yesterday with a brand. They're actually a $1 billion company, and they have a $15 million brand in the US. Huge budgets. And I was speaking with one of their CMOs. And I was talking to them, we're trying to get to a $50,000 in monthly GMV as fast as possible. And he asked me, well, how much ad spend do we need to sell $50,000? And I said, we probably need $50,000, okay, of a one ROI. It doesn't make sense, right? You're not going to make money at those levels. But if you go hard on the ad spend, guess what's happened once you break $50,000 in GMV? The good affiliates start coming to you. Now you can get a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5 ROI and scale from there. It's a lot easier to get from $50,000 to $250,000 in monthly sales than it is to go from 0 to $50,000. Now, there has been some cases that you can break $50,000 with a 3 or 4 ROI. As a matter of fact, we had a brand that broke $1 million a month with zero ad spend, completely organically. You can do that. But if you're trying to scale and you're stuck at $5,000 to $10,000 and you have your ads at 2 to 3 ROI, try lowering it. It takes a financial investment and a tough, stomach, but try lowering it and you will see what happens after that. Good. So after $100,000 a month, it becomes an avalanche. Big affiliates start coming to you. The affiliates post more. At the beginning, if you're sending out 200 samples, you're going to get 180 to 200 videos. Guess what happened once you break $100,000? You send out 200 samples and you're going to get 1,000 videos. Why? The affiliates get excited. They post 5, 10, sometimes 20 videos from that one sample. ROAS obviously improves and self-reinforcing growth. It becomes a snowball effect that you cannot stop. One of the biggest issues, if you want to call it an issue, that we have with some of our brands is that once they cross $100,000, they grow so fast that they run out of inventory. We have to set aside some inventory for Amazon. You do not want to run out of inventory on Amazon, but TikTok is okay. If you run out of inventory, once you bring inventory back, even if it takes a few months, you catch up right away. All right, so this is my last slides, and this is Be Like Leslie. We sent an email a couple of weeks ago from one of our clients, and she, at month 5, she was stuck at under $10,000. She had already invested a lot of money on samples, a lot of money on ads, and she sent us a 30-day cancellation notice. And we said, Leslie, let's try something new. We had her ROI set at 2. We said, let's drop it down to 1.5. And then at some point, we dropped it down to 1.25 ROI. It was the last month. She was about to close business down. She said, okay, let's try it. We did that, and it grew very rapidly from $10,000 a month to $80,000 that month. And then guess what's happened then? We started doing 3, 4, 5 ROI. And now she's breaking $500,000 a month, just a couple of months after we did that. And this is, once we saw this success story, we sent out the email and we asked her permission to send out the email. And she said, I love this draft. I am totally fine with you guys sending it out. I'm flattered and honored that you want to feature my story. So, and then the halo effect, her Amazon sales doubled just from the TikTok shop halo effect. So thank you guys very much. If you want to meet with me and one of my teammates, you can scan this QR code or go to bullseyesellers.com. We'll be more than happy to meet with you. We're not salesy, we're not pushy, we're just here to give value. And we are an agency, so we're taking clients, but more than that, we're here to just help brands grow and scale on TikTok Shop. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Ernesto. Thank you so much. That was great, especially the Amazon Halo effect. So that was such a good case study because we're seeing the same. Like if you do things correctly, especially the scale of TikTok is having a significant positive impact when it comes to Amazon. And that's something that I'm sure a lot of people is looking to also see that it's possible, so I appreciate that. Awesome. So next one, we have Bryan. How you doing, Bryan?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Really happy to be here today as well. Can y'all hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, excited to be here. I mean, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of great content. Don't want to, beat the dead horse here, but I think that all the strategies that have been given are the right ones, right? And it really is a formula, right? And it really is a strategy play. But yeah, nice to meet everybody. My name is Bryan. I'm head of partnerships at Cruva. Prior to Cruva, I was at TikTok, so that's why I said a lot of familiar faces. Like I know Tommy, I know Ernesto from back in the day as well. So yeah, today I wanted to talk a little bit about just using AI to scale to actually scale those affiliate programs and reach out to affiliates in an efficient way, right? And why is reaching out to affiliates important in an efficient way? 85% of the GMV that you see on TikTok Shop comes from your affiliates, right? And so everything that was said earlier is correct, right? So brands don't want to work with creators that they don't necessarily see GMV on, and creators don't want to work with new brands. That is, that is the the chicken and the egg situation, and that's how to address that. You use platforms like Celico, right? But let's say you move out of that, right? How do you actually reach out to affiliates effectively? There's really truly only two ways. Either you're doing it manually, so if you're doing it manually, you're sending out a bunch of messages through the TikTok platform, but I think you can only do like 25 or 30 or 50 at a time at most. And there's not really any of the filtering criteria that you're going to get using some of these other tools and AI that can help you do it efficiently. Um, Another way, I guess, is creating a TikTok Shop account, kind of filling up your For You page with a bunch of TikTok Shop content, and then just kind of finding creators that way that are selling similar products. But again, that all sounds very manual, right? And so that's where a platform like Cruva and there's others in the market as well that help scale affiliates and find the right affiliates. And the way that you can do that is, I mean, we're an official TikTok Shop partner, so we have all 3 million plus affiliates that are on the TikTok Shop platform. And so when you come onto a platform like Cruva, what you can do is you can actually pool creators based on specific demographics, right? So whether that's you're looking for a specific race, a specific language being spoken, um, um, specific type of content, whether it's skincare or tanning or whatever the case may be, you can find those specific creators, and all of that helps to make sure that you're not just sending out samples into the bliss, which I think Vincenzo touched on that earlier on, where usually brands come on here on TikTok Shop and they just send a bunch of samples to no prevail, right? And so we're trying to help you avoid those situations. Another way that you could do this is by actually coming on board and looking at what your competitors are already doing in the market, right? I think the best way to get started on TikTok Shop is to just kind of see what is my competitor A doing, what is competitor B doing, and let's kind of replicate. Let's not build a new wheel. Let's just kind of find the formula with an existing flywheel, right? And so finding those affiliates that are posting for other brands is a great way to get started. You can see how much you can filter by GMV, by the post rate. Very important, right? I think having a high post rate and a couple of dollars in GMV is a great place to start to just find those first affiliates that are going to start driving numbers for you. Aside from that, I think it's very important to start the automation, right? So what happens after that? Typically, brands will send out a bunch of samples to affiliates, and then the affiliates post once and then never again, or they don't even know what to post, right? And so having automations that actually kind of tell a story and tell the affiliates, okay, once you receive the product, this is what you need to do, right? Here's a creator brief. This is what competitors are doing. Let's just copy this. Or giving them an example, a successful case study of an affiliate who have maybe already done numbers for your brand. But basically staying on top of them through automations is going to lead to long-term success on the platform as well, right? And what I mean by that too is not only are you trying to find the creators, but you also want to start building a community with them, right? You want to keep them engaged. Ask for their phone number, lead them into a WhatsApp, into a Discord, into whatever place you're building, because you want to find those 50 to 100 creators that match your ICP properly. So I would say the 60 to 90-day playbook for Amazon sellers, if make the listing actually convert, right? Make sure that the product is optimized for sales on TikTok Shop, having a clear image, having good reviews, right? If you don't have any in the beginning, again, you can use Celico, use your friends and family to start building that audience, start building those reviews on the page. Definitely making sure that when a creator posts your video, it actually will convert and then they go to your page and not just see a blank page. Make sure you have a nice page, right? Start building that brand identity. What do you want your brand to represent on the main page? And so all of those things I would say are important before you even think about going to searching for affiliates, right? But once you have that first playbook down, then cool. Let's start reaching out to affiliates. Let's find the right ones. Like I said, create, go after the competitors, see what creators are posting for them, and then incentivize those creators with a good offer that they can't resist, right? Or with an enticing message that makes them want to work with you, with a personalized message as well. Then after you find all that, after you find the right creators and you automate all of that process, find the ones that really, really work for you and build that community with them, right? Gamify it. Make sure that they're incentivized through the goalie strategy, where like if you guys are familiar with the goalie strategy, they were giving out, Lamborghinis and penthouses in Miami. Not saying you have to do it to that extent, but you can do something at a smaller scale, but make the creator feel important. At the end of the day, you need to treat the creator like they are your sales team. They're the boots on the ground. They're the ones driving product or driving sales to your products. And so treating them well, rewarding them with prizes, with leaderboards, with competitions is going to be the best way to kind of engage them and make sure that they stay engaged and that they go out there and vouch for your product time and time again. So what changes when those creators become the channel? A couple of things change. So at the end of the day, TikTok Shop is a discovery platform, right? So the more content that's on that algorithm, the more chances you're gonna have of going viral. So not only of going viral, but also making sure that the brand name starts becoming a recognized name across many, many, many different users of the platform. And so the way that TikTok Shop works, it's focus groups, right? So it presents your audience to the first focus group. How does it like your product? If it does well there, and so that's why it's important for the creators to know that they have to have a hook, a good call to action, a good script, right? Because if it hooks in those first couple of seconds, the focus group expands, and so on and so on. It keeps expanding until that product goes viral. So having 50 creators post 50 pieces of content, all that's going to do is increase your chances of going viral, right? And so another great thing about TikTok Shop is that a video from 3 or 4, 5, 6 months ago can go viral in the future. And so being able to just fill the algorithm with content is going to increase your chances of having that discoverable product way even months down the line, or even I've seen, even a year down the line. And so, of course, I would say those are the most important reasons. But the last one, of course, is the halo effect. That's one that I think everybody here can speak on and everybody has touched upon. That halo effect is, I think, the second best thing that TikTok has done, right? And it's okay. Your product may not be getting the sales on TikTok Shop, but look at how many views it's getting, and then you can measure that halo effect. And you can measure that halo effect using tools like a Cruva as well. I think TikTok has their own tool internally now where it also measures that halo effect. And of course, it's not perfect, but it's a good place to start. It's a good place to start because you're able to just see, okay, maybe you're not getting the sales on TikTok Shop, but look how many views you're getting. And those views are translating to more clicks on your D2C, more clicks on your Amazon page, more eyes when you go into a retail location. I know we spoke about the importance of going retail as well. So again, TikTok Shop is a platform that should be treated as a discovery platform. And also just a new way of doing marketing, right? Treat the creators like your sales team. Make sure that that they're incentivized, that you're building a community with them, and that you're also filling the algorithm with content, right? Just keep at it, and also don't give up after 3 months. Give it 3 to 6 months so that you can actually see some of those results spill over to all these other platforms. But yeah, that's basically Cruva. If you guys have any questions on that, let us know. Find me on LinkedIn, Cruva.com. Happy to give you guys a demo. Or anybody on this call as well. Great content. Thank you.
Awesome, Bryan. That's great. Thank you so much for that. Cool, guys. So we come now to the Q&A section. So we have some questions here already that I think I would like to just maybe elaborate a bit more in by voice, even if I see some of the speakers already reply by text, which was awesome. So I think one of the first questions we get is regarding live streaming, right? It was one of the questions regarding, do we recommend using affiliates for live streaming or building our own live streaming capabilities? So I guess, James, you already did reply kind of in detail there, but you would like to add something to that, or anybody else on the webinar? Like, what are your thoughts on building live streaming capabilities, not relying on yourself, but maybe using affiliates or influencers to do it on your behalf?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite biased, right? In terms of life and like building your own channel, because that's specifically what my talk was about. But I think like there's no real right or wrong way to build a TikTok shop right now. There's like key things that everyone should be doing. But like it's like saying, what is a successful YouTube channel looking like back in the day? It's like some people are talking about such a variety of topics and there's many different styles of videos. But it's more like try to own your own attention. I think is really important. Like we have a really good case study here in Brazil with a small fitness brand called Bioquantics, and they're doing like $2 to $3 million a year in revenue here in Brazil. And they have great affiliates, but their affiliates rose very quickly, and they were doing live streams because they built their audiences over 3 to 4 years. They have great followers, so they get great retention. But then all of a sudden, their top affiliates then switched to another product that was cheaper, that was offering a higher percentage of GMV, and then it really affects them. So affiliates come and go, and I think there are great tools like Cruva, like to go and find affiliates. Like I'm a big believer in that. But at the same time, you have to be like omni-channel. You have to be like building your own channels as well. So bringing those affiliates to represent your own live channel, so going live from your own account, and then building that repeat customers up, building your own following up, I think is really vital. And you can do that with an agency like mine, or you can just do it in-house, right? You don't need anything like crazy. You just need a basic setup, an iPhone, a light, a good microphone, and then, do some research on like how to use runner shows. And then the most important thing is you control the messaging as well. So when you work with affiliates, they may not always say exactly what you want them to say about your brand, but when it's your own channel, you decide exactly what is said, how it's said, when it's said. And I think that's really important. That's my take on it.
Awesome. Anybody wants to add anything to that? We go to live streams. We also, Sonia, you asked regarding the replay. Yes, we're going to be actually sending the replay to all the people that sign up or had to leave early. So you're going to be receiving an email when it comes to that. We also have another question regarding categories. So people asking what kind of categories are the ones that, I guess, reaching the most success? I'm assuming with live streams in TikTok in general. Is any kind of categories you guys are working with that consistently behave the best when it comes to TikTok?
I think right now beauty's crushing it. Personal care. Health was the first one I would say that kind of went viral. But right now I think beauty and personal care.
Yeah, I think beauty does really well too, because anything with lower shipping, because if you have a pretty intense sampling strategy, it can be harder to make products with like high shipping costs work.
Exactly.
But honestly too, like there's not category specific, and you can succeed in any category at the same time. So even like collectibles, which are like, I don't know, that like people crush it with collectibles, but
yeah, I would add to that, more than the category, it's the product. The product, you might be in beauty or health, but don't not have enough, a product that is good for TikTok. So it needs to be visual, it needs to be demonstrable, it needs to be very easy for the creator to demonstrate it. Like the other day, I had a meeting with a brand that has this apparatus that you attach it to a wheelchair, and it makes it brake better and handle better. Like, how many creators have a wheelchair and will be able to demonstrate it, right? So more than the category, any category, you can make $1 million a month. Any category, it just has to be the right product. You have to have the right margins, and by right product, it has to be demonstrable. It has to be attractive. It has to be the correct price range. Unless you're Ninja or one of these like big huge brands, right? It has to be anywhere between $15 to $50 would be the sweet spot.
Well, to play devil's advocate with that, and I think it's really interesting. I think in like when you follow the markets, the early on the markets are, the cheaper, more impulsive products they sell, but the more sophisticated they are, the bigger brands are coming in. Like, for example, on TikTok right now, Ralph Lauren have come in, and that average order value is $350. right? So I completely agree. Like the start of the market, impulse purchase buys are like ramping up. So like beauty, supplements, like home improvement. But I think it's really interesting now, like more luxury and like higher price items are really like doing well now in the US. So like Ralph Lauren is a great example. They're selling bags at 350 average order value on their platform. And I think we're seeing that in other markets as well. So like more advanced markets like Indonesia, Vietnam, their average order value has increased over the years. And in Brazil right now, because it's only 11 months old, it's very, very low. And but then as conversations evolve, bigger brands are wanting to put bigger products on there. So just my take on it as well.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I think it also comes down to, I'm assuming, if you're a brand that have some success outside of TikTok before jumping on TikTok, or you started from zero, I'm assuming that's also important. Like, I agree. Like, if you're already a premium brand, I guess you can get away with high pricing. But if you're a brand that nobody knows and you jump on TikTok, maybe you have to play a lot with discounts, which is another question I see been asked. Is like, they were asking if, heavy discounts and commission is the only way to get the ball rolling on TikTok. What is your take on that, guys? To get interest
I
and
don't
momentum.
think so. I think that it's not necessarily heavy discounting that wins, but multiple discounts. You have to know the promotion features of TikTok. And so it's like, because there's so much to it, it's like flash sales, buy more, save more, gift with purchase, the native campaigns, coupons. And so I don't think it's necessarily about like having, the biggest discount or like the biggest flash sale, but it's like having your flash sale and the follower coupons and whatever coupons. And then like finding a promotional strategy that works. And it's also too like, you don't want to have too low of a price that the affiliates aren't earning. And so like having a higher ticket price, a premium product, I think is the way to go on Shop, because then you don't have to necessarily compete on price. You're competing on value, and that's going to always be better. And affiliates are going to make more money from that.
Nice. And I guess when it comes to this, which is of course the affiliate side of things that we've been talking, like, do you guys see AI being kind of very disruptive in this? Because I know before the whole AI was a big thing, a lot of the process was manual in terms of finding these influencers and all of that. But how you guys seeing AI shifting the speed and the accuracy of finding the right influencers when it comes to working with them on TikTok?
That's a Bryan question.
Yeah. Do you have any insight, Bryan, about that?
I think that AI has a place in the space. I think that it's not going to replace the humans. I do think that it's an addition, right? It's just more content. And if you can have good AI content feeding the algorithm, it's going to help you. It won't hurt you.
Yeah.
I know, Tommy, you kind of do some stuff with AI, don't you?
Yeah. Well, so in terms of like, because there's so much with AI, right? Like there's obviously like with Cruva with like AI outreach and like generating briefs and all of that is one piece to it. And I think that that's very important, especially when you're at scale and you need to stack more and more creators. AI content, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, doesn't necessarily win in that, like, I think the conversion rates are going to be lower. I think that people aren't going to be as happy when they see AI content. It's not going to sell it as easily, but your feedback loop is so much tighter and your cost per video is so much lower. Because if you want videos at scale, unless you have a creator who's like willing to die for you, which by the way, I think that's the number one thing. Like if you're a brand trying to launch on TikTok Shop, find a creator who is so passionate about your brand and so passionate about like the mission that they are willing to like die for you, and they'll make videos all day long, post 3 videos a day every single day. That's how you actually win. And that's like, so then it's, how do you find that? But like between now and then, it's also like, how do we give your creators a piece of content that they can replicate that is actually going to convert and drive sales? And it, like, because you want to make the job as easy as possible for creators, because again, they want time freedom is one of the big things. So they don't want to have to test 1,000 different angles. And so if you can test angles using AI and make it look as non-AI as possible, or you can test scripts and hooks and so many different things. And if you can find a winning content format, A, it's going to cost a lot less. B, you'll be able to create more content faster. And C, you'll then be able to take that winning format and put that in the hands of your creators, who can then make it even better because they're a real human being.
Yeah, that's actually a very good insight. Awesome. I see another question here just pop up. I don't know if you guys can see it from Gladys. She's asking essentially high level, like how premium brands kind of navigate the situation of either maintain pricing or go the discounting route, and more importantly, when you take that decision, how that could potentially affect your Amazon, how to affect if you decide to not really play the TikTok game, I guess. Yeah. Any insight on that?
I would say, I mean, it depends on what your goals are on the platform. I would say that a lot of brands, when they're on TikTok Shop, they're looking for scale, and they're looking to maximize their impressions. To do that, it makes sense to, um, do heavier discounting, a bigger affiliate commission, because you're going to get more affiliates, and you can be selective with it too. Like maybe have a really high target collaboration commission, but your open collabs are lower. And then lastly, like you're going to spend on ads, and so it's like whether you're a premium brand or not, I think that you should be looking at TikTok Shop as a break-even channel, to fuel sales on other channels.
Yeah. I think something that works very well, at least for some of the premium brands we're working with, is that we actually have also engineered a product only for TikTok. Okay. So let's say we have pros that are very kind of $100, $200 mark. We might come up, let's say on the beauty space, right? Your pros are $100, $150, $200. Then what we do for TikTok, we come up with a sample version or a starter pack or something like that. And that's what we push on TikTok, because that's essentially or the item that we use to penetrate the market and win that initial awareness that then is a touch point to upsell them the real premium products, right? So that's something that works very well. It just that, of course, you will need more thinking, engineering from, I guess, a catalog point of view, but that's something that could help you navigate if you don't want to dilute the awareness of your premium SKUs, Cool. I think that's pretty much all of them. Let me just double check. We also answer, regarding revenue. Actually, there was another one I got as well directly, which was regarding the strategy, right? So they were asking if the strategy will change depending on the type of product. What you guys think? Let's say the first 90 days, does it significantly change if we are doing a toy brand compared to a beauty brand compared to a food kind of relatable item, or is the same kind of, at least from a technicality point of view, or is there some major shift people have to be aware of depending on the nature of the product?
I would say there's so many factors that go into it. Kind of like I was mentioning earlier, like if you've got, and it depends on your budget too. Like, so like Ernesto was saying, if you're $1 billion company and you're trying to just increase, scale your top line, like there are people who are totally fine running the whole channel and the whole system at a loss for, and scaling at a loss. But if you're not trying to do that, then you're going to have a very different strategy. If you're trying to make it a profitable channel, you're going to be very selective with the samples that you're sending. And same thing, like if your product is heavy and it costs a lot to ship, you're not going to send as many samples. And then of course too, like when you're using Cruva, you're going to, choose the creators that are in your category and all of that. So.
Awesome. That's good. Thank you, Tommy. Great, guys. So I think that's pretty much it. It was a pleasure to have you all. Thank you so much for your time. I think even myself, I learned, so many things. So it was definitely super insightful. And I'm sure all the people that attended and most likely will also watch the recording will get so much more. So of course, everybody watching live, remember, you're going to get all information, all the slides after this, and you're going to find all information from every single of the speakers, so you can reach out, explore how to work with them. These are some of the best people in the space when it comes to TikTok, so these are definitely the ones you should be working with. And from my side, I just want to thank you for tuning in, for learning, for staying engaged, and more importantly, making sure that you really keep fighting to figure out what is really going to move the needle when it comes to 2026. And the things that you're learning today, those are the ones. So I invite you to not only close the webinar and then not do anything about it, take action, start implementing it, and I'm sure you're going to be so much more ahead than your competition if you do so. So that's everything from our side, guys. Again, pleasure. Looking forward to have you again in a future webinar, and see you in the next one. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. See ya.
Bye.